Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a good one for anybody who has trouble drawing glass. And to be honest, I still kind of struggle with it a little bit too, but I've got it down enough to where I can show you guys the gist of how I draw transparent glass. And for this tutorial, I'm actually going to draw a wine glass. And you can kind of see here a little bit anyway on camera that I have my outline done. I did that off camera to save a little bit of time. And I also feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit too, so you gotta bear with me there. I don't know, I just got over being sick, but not that you really care about that or that it matters. But anyway, so I've got my outline here, and one thing that, before we start at all, one thing that I want to go over is basically how glass works, or how it interacts with light. And I have a wine glass right here, and I will show you. And what you can see is it leaves a little bit of a shadow, just kind of barely, but most of the light passes through the glass. But yeah, even though it doesn't have a whole lot of shadows at all on the glass, it casts a little faint shadow underneath, as you can see. You still see a lot of really dark lines around the thickest parts of the glass, and it sort of makes it look like it is shaded under here, or that it's casting a shadow, but really what that is the light being warped around the thickest and most curved parts of the glass. So like down here, this glass down here, it's kind of where it all I don't know, in the glass blowing process or pouring or however they make it, it's kind of where a lot of it settles down here. So the glass down here is thicker, and then it bends more of the light around it, and you have this dark area down here. And then of course on the sides, since this is curved completely, on the sides here that are facing away from you, it's also black because the light from the table or whatever's in the background is kind of warping around it, and it's getting smushed on this curved edge here. So take a look at a glass. I'm sure you have one at home that's clear that you can look at, or get online and look up any kind of images, reference photos of glass, and just kind of look at how glass interacts with the light, because that's a really important part of drawing it realistically. So for this tutorial, I actually didn't use this glass, I just used a reference photo that I found online. But the first thing that I do whenever I draw glass is to outline all of the highlights and all of the refractions in the glass. So as you can see here, I have kind of a whole lot of scribbles going on, and it doesn't make too much sense. But once I add in all the values, it'll start to make sense anyway. So when you have your glass, your reference photo that you want to work with, go ahead and make an outline of all of these little shapes here that you can see in the glass, and map out where the lightest parts and the darkest parts are going to be. And since I've already got that done, the next thing that I am going to do is fill in this largest part here, the actual area or the part that you drink out of. I don't know what you call that, but I'm going to fill this in with a little bit of a darker color than the background, because even though it's clear, we still want to separate it from the white background. So another thing about glass is, I'm going to bring out this one again. So this big area, it's the most of it, how do I want to put that? This whole area is facing you. So because of that, it looks clear. There's not a whole lot of curve here. You have a lot of surface area of this glass facing you, so most of the light that you're seeing goes right through it. So it's mostly clear, and it doesn't look like it has a whole lot of color. But as you can see, if I were to put it down here on the paper, it is a little bit darker than the paper. So even though it's clear, it still has its own value that's separate from the background. So what I'm going to do in here is, in between all of these little lines that I have, I'm going to sort of add a base color or a base tone of light gray, and then that'll separate it from the background and give it its own value. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so that should be a pretty good place to start, I think. I'm going to leave these two bands here completely white. Those are going to be the highlights that are actually one of the few reflections on the glass. So next what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and fill in some of these areas here that I've outlined that you might not be able to see, but these are going to be the darkest areas of the glass. And like I was talking about earlier, these are going to be the curves here along the edge, and then down here in this area where the thickest part of the glass is. So I'm going to go in and start darkening up some of those areas now. So as you can see, it's really coming together already actually, and I haven't even put that much work into it. Really all it is once you map out all your outlines, all you do is follow the lines that you had put on there already, and if you do that, and if you do it at least semi-close to what your reference image looks like, it's going to wind up looking like glass. And just a couple quick little pointers. It helps to... I always find it helps to use a mechanical pencil to be very precise. That's just a personal preference though. The mechanical pencil, it tends to always stay sharp, unlike a pencil that you have to continually sharpen once you wear it down. But it's good to keep really crisp lines in your glass. It definitely helps to create the illusion that it's smooth and clear and just free of any imperfections. So keep your lines as smooth as you can, and mine aren't as smooth as they could be, but it's a little bit hard to draw when I'm kind of perched far back away from the paper to stay out of the camera view. But anyway, I am going to keep doing exactly what I've been doing this whole time, and I'm going to continue down the stem of the wine glass and the bottom here. And as you can see, I have all my, well, maybe you can't see it, I don't know. But I have all of my outlines down here toward the bottom of the wine glass done already also. So I'm just going to keep following that, doing the darkest around the outside and the thickest parts of the wine glass. And then we're going to go back and do a couple highlights. But for now, I'm just going to finish doing all of these darkest parts, and I will be right back. Okay, so now that actually it's basically almost completely done, I am going to go in with a white colored pencil and see if I can bring out a little bit more of the highlights and the lighter colors. My paper is a little bit off-white, and I chose that on purpose so that I could go in here and do this, but I'm going to see, this might actually not even work out at all, but I am going to go in and see if I can bring out these highlights a little bit. And I don't know if it's reading on camera, but yeah, never mind. It's not doing anything. No. I was ready to say, oh, I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, but it looks great in real life. So, okay, never mind. Not going to do that. But what I am going to do is go ahead and darken up some of the shadows just a little bit more, especially around the outer edges with a black colored pencil. And in reality, I probably should have just drew this whole entire thing in colored pencil. That would have made this last step completely unnecessary. But I didn't think about that. Okay, well, there you go. I think that this is good enough for this tutorial. You at least get a pretty good primer on how to draw glass. There's a million different ways to draw glass depending on what the shape and what the color and the texture is. Not all glass is clear glass and not all glass is smooth like this, but for one of the most common types of glass, I just spit on the table. One of the most common types of glass, this clear glass, like this wine glass here, this is basically the gist of how I do it anyway. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please feel free to give it a thumbs up, and then if you haven't already, if you would like to help support my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and I will see you in the next one.